Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Amy Gallagher again from HR. Welcome to the last day of the President Recruitment Open Forum. So with us today, we have Jessica Robinson. Dr. Robinson, you will have 60 minutes to answer several questions, including blue questions from our audience members. Are you ready? All right. Here's your first question. Please provide us with a brief introduction, including your experience and why you believe that you are the best candidate for the president at Cuyamaca College.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me start off by saying thank you. Let me lower my voice. I have a mic in my hand. Let me start off by saying thank you. I know that this has been a very long couple of weeks for so many of you. Amy, I want to thank you and the district for really taking this to the degree that you have in regards to giving it its due. Our college deserves an amazing president, and the time that's been taken on this has been wonderful. So thank you for all of you that served on the committee or have been a part of this and have been coming to these forums. So I wanted to start with that. As Amy said, my name is Jessica Robinson. I'm currently serving as the interim president here at Cuyamaca College. And my journey actually started here at Cuyamaca College. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll go into why I think I'm the best candidate for this position. I am a local resident. I've said this many times, my commute is one song. On a very good day, it's even less than that if I catch every green light. But I started my entire journey of higher education here at Cuyamaca College. I was raised in Lemon Grove, very, very proud of growing up in Lemon Grove. I am a first generation, and until my daughter started college this year, was still the only person in my family to go to college. She's now the second, and I'm super proud of that. And I am a Latina, very proud of that as well. And growing up, college wasn't something that we talked about in my family. There were other things that were going on. There were other items that we had to pay attention to. And so in high school, it wasn't something that I thought of at all. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks before I graduated from high school, Mount Miguel, go Matadors, that my high school English teacher came up to me and said, "You're smart. You're a smart young lady. You need to go to college." And I didn't know what that meant at all at the time. I just knew that someone that I looked up to was telling me something that I should do. And because I hadn't heard anywhere else, I thought, well, let me try this. My family still lives very, very close, right across the street. I have many family members that live close. And I had seen Cuyamaca many times, passed by many times. I've always was in awe of how beautiful Cuyamaca was. And so I thought, I think that's where I want to go. I think I'll start my journey at Cuyamaca College. This morning I saw Valerie as I was walking in, and I told her, I'm going to take the journey up the steps. Many of you have heard me say this. I walked up these steps that are still here today. This was a while ago when I was 17 years old, and I was very nervous and very scared, knee shaking, not sure what I was getting myself into. And this college completely changed my entire life. It changed everything about me and all that I thought that I could do in my life. And so being here today is very, very surreal. This past week has been very surreal, interviewing and going through the process for this position. But I want to tell you, I have taken advantage of every single possible opportunity that was afforded to me so that I could be here with you right now. Everything that I have done in my entire professional career has led to this right here, right now with all of you. And so after I completed my time, and I had a very warm welcome here at Cuyamaca College, I went on and I transferred to San Diego State University. The dream was that I wanted to help other students that were first-generation students and other students that grew up in vulnerable communities so that they knew that college was a plan A and was something that they had to do. So I majored in social work, which is just my love. My discipline is social work. And so I knew that in order to do that, I would have to get my master's degree, and I did. I kept going, clawing, and getting all the services that I possibly could and getting the help that I needed. And after I graduated with my master's in social work, administrative social work, because I knew that though working one-on-one with individuals was incredibly important, I knew that I was really good at looking at the larger picture. So if I saw one person that was in need, I knew there were hundreds of others, and I wanted to be able to build programs to help those individuals. So I earned my master's degree from San Diego State in social work, administrative social work, and I started working in the community. I was a grant writer. I worked at San Diego State University, and I wrote and I did really well with the individuals that we worked with on writing programs for first-generation students. So students that typically at the high school that they were at weren't going into college. And for that, we looked at youth and foster care, and we looked at first-generation students that were historically marginalized. I loved my job, I loved my work, and I kept grabbing at new opportunities. I became a faculty in the School of Social Work. I was able to write curriculum. Some of the curriculum that I wrote was the base of our cultural work within the department, which I was very, very proud of. And then I just started grabbing on anything that I could. I became a curriculum chair. I became the individual who worked with all of our students that were either transferring over or that were freshmen. So I was the academic advisor for all social work and gerontology students. And then I started to work with graduate students, and I wrote the administrative community development track. At the time, there was a lot of talk about community organizing. The person that was running for president, Barack Obama at the time, brought this newfound lens of community organizing and working with our neighborhoods. And so because of all the interest, I wrote a track to attract more students coming into that program. And I enjoyed it very, very much. But what I noticed was that there were a lot of students that were outside, that when they were not in my classroom, that were struggling, that there were barriers that they needed help getting broke down. And I wanted to be a part of that. And it was at that same time that the director of the school came to me and said, "We really want you to go back and get your doctorate. We really want you to be a tenured professor here. We want you to have your career here. We want you to have your life here." And so I started looking into doc programs, and I fell in love with so many different programs, and none of them had to do with social work. All of them had to do with educational leadership. And I kept going back to the idea of I want to be able to help students like me and break down barriers. And so I went to a very excited director of the School of Social Work, and I told her, "Guess what? I'm going back. I'm going to get my doctorate." "That's so wonderful." "Oh, I'm sorry, it's not going to be in social work." I have a different way I wanted to go. And so in 2014, I jumped all in, and I started to earn my doctorate in educational leadership. It was at that time that I moved to be within the College of Health and Human Services at San Diego State. I was then the dean for student affairs. Student services is called student affairs at San Diego State. And I enjoyed doing that, and then an opportunity came to me where I could serve in a dual role. So I served for my final year at San Diego State. I served as the Dean of Student Affairs and Academic Affairs. So it's the same as here being the Vice President of Student Services and Instruction. And it was amazing. I loved it very, very much. And when I went back to earn my doctorate, my intention and my goal was that I would be able, with that degree and with my experience, to be able to come back here where it all started, because my goal was to be the Vice President of Student Services here at Cuyamaca College. And in 2017, just a few short months after I graduated with my doctorate, the position came open. And I closed my eyes and I opened my eyes when I walked up the steps, but I closed my eyes and I opened them and walked up those steps. And it was a really amazing experience. And I interviewed for that at the same time that I also interviewed to be a social work adjunct faculty here. And I don't think Peter Upgard is here, but I was happy and so excited that I was going to be teaching social work here when I got the phone call that I was going to be the new Vice President of Student Services. Pete probably doesn't remember the phone call, but I remember vividly calling him and saying, "I can't teach social work. I'm so sorry." And he said, "Well, why?" Well, he probably said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I'm going to be the Vice President of Student Services." And so it was a really cool moment where I had to give up the love of teaching, but it was because I wanted to be able to come back home and be here. I spent the last 4.5 years being the Vice President of Student Services here, and it has been the joy of my life. But I took advantage very early on in working with our then President, Dr. Barnes, to be able to get more experience with the president and the president lens. So I was a part of the Aspen Presidential Fellowship, as well as other programs that were any and all of them I would make sure that I was a part of. And when Dr. Barnes left, I again closed my eyes, opened them, walked up those stairs, and applied for the interim president position. And so for the last 11 months, I've been able to work with all of you amazing individuals on our goals and our vision as the interim president. Why do I think I'm the right person for this job? I believe that everything that I just said, I'm sure every candidate has run through. If you're here and you're applying for this position, you need to be able to have the educational experience as well as the professional experience. What I also come with, though, is an entire body from head to toe that is completely filled with love and admiration for this college. I am Cuyamaca College. I am a product of this college, and I stand before you as someone where when you put in the work and you give the support, you have a successful alum that is standing before you today. That, I think, is something that is very unique. My goal is to retire here at this college. That is my goal. That is my goal. I think that's very different than other goals that may come up. So for me, that is one of the unique things that I bring to this position.
Thank you. Okay, question number 2. Please describe your experience addressing the many challenges community colleges are facing building back enrollment. Please include examples of any successful strategies.
Okay. Building back enrollment, that is the number one thing we've been talking about again and again and again on this campus, building back enrollment. The first thing we have to acknowledge is that we cannot do things the same way that we've always done things. If we do, we're not going to be able to build back enrollment. We might get some students that are coming back. The students that we know will come back, the students that want to come to college, the students that already have a plan. But we have to think very differently in regards to how we're working with our students. There was a brief, I mentioned this earlier when I had my meeting with the chancellor. There's a brief that just came out, and our chancellor is actually one of the authors on this brief. And the brief is amazing because it talks about the ways that we have to work differently in order to get our students back on campus. One of the things that's on there says outreach, outreach, outreach. We have to make sure that we are connecting with students where they are. We have to make sure that we are going in their community, speaking with them. We have done that. We worked very hard and intentionally to be able to use one-time funds to hire individuals as community liaisons to go into the community and not just to work with our students that are disproportionately impacted, but work with our students coming in and staying here, persisting. We've been able to do that not just for our students, our African American population, and for our Latinx population, but also for our Kumeyaay students, which is a really big deal. It's the first time we've been able to connect in that way and have student ambassadors that are working with them to stay here and to thrive. There's also a lot of things that we need to make sure that we're doing in regards to making it easier for our students when they're here. Student support has to be on point. As the former Vice President of Student Services, I can tell you right now, we have an amazing Student Services team here. We also have an amazing instructional team here. Working together and partnering, this is every single person in this room's job in regards to us growing enrollment in order to get back. We also have to make sure that we're looking at how are we scheduling our classes and what modality are we scheduling our classes. Are we meeting the students' needs and demands? I don't know how many of you have been on campus after 5:30. It is bustling. Our students are here. They are here. They are taking classes. They are here. Do we need to offer more classes that are at night? How do we make it easier for our students to succeed? Looking at stackable certificates, looking at ways that students can come here, earn their degree, and leave sooner. I looked at our data the other day in regards to transfer. We are doing a really good job in regards to transferring to San Diego State. A really, really good job. In 2022, about 76% of our students that applied got into San Diego State for transfer. That's a really, really big deal. We want to keep that up. But in addition, how else are we supporting these students? But also, one of the data that's on there that I saw, which I thought was amazing, was that our college in the region had one of the lowest in regards to transferring units. That means that our students that are transferring are spending less time here before they transfer. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. So in looking at enrollment and looking at in building our enrollment, that is all of our jobs. That is whether we're marketing, whether we're having signs that say you belong here, whether we're talking about it off campus, including our students and what we're doing, going in the community, that is all of our jobs.
Cuyamaca College's overarching mission is to advance equity and social justice through student-centered and innovative approaches to education. What experience do you have closing equity gaps and addressing issues of social justice and anti-racism?
So I have experience both in and outside of the classroom. We have a program here that's the EMTLI, right? Equity Minded Teaching and Learning Institute. One of our founders of that is in this room sitting up here. And the idea that faculty would be able to look at the data in their classroom and they would be able to look and see how is it going in regards to the students that are there, how are they faring, How are they succeeding within the classroom? And what is it you as a faculty need to do so that the success rate of those students, what do you need to examine to make sure that you're supporting those students? I was able to do that work in the School of Social Work. I was able to take a look at the rates of my persistence and the rate of success of my students and be able to disaggregate it to look at our student population to say, what is it that I'm ignoring? What do I need to do better? So I have that experience within the classroom, but I also have that experience in supporting faculty in that work. As an administrator in the work that I'm doing here, I take every advantage that I possibly can in regards to eliminating our equity gaps. We stand for that. It's what we stand for. We've talked, we have our strategic priorities in regards to making sure that we're hiring individuals that can relate to our students or that look like our students, so our students see themselves in others. That's part of the job that I'm doing right now and a lot of the hiring that we're doing. But additionally, and one of the things that I want to make sure I'm pointing out is I don't wait to be asked to work on these items. I don't need to have something that's coming down from the state that says that we need to do it. I'm making sure that we're doing it on a regular basis. The work that we have done in regards to completely eliminating some of our remedial courses in math and English has put us on the map. But we have to keep going. We have to keep working on that. We have to keep doing that work. During COVID, I was listening in a webinar. I was in my previous office in the F building. There weren't a lot of people on campus. This is when we had to still request to be on campus. And I was here, and Dr. Barnes, our then president, was here. And I was watching a webinar, and students were talking about how they needed to have safe spaces on campus. They need to have spaces where they feel as though they belong, spaces where they feel as though they're encouraged. And I remember someone said, if your college doesn't want it, you demand it. You make sure that they have it. You walk up to the president and you make sure that they know. And I thought, I don't ever want to have a student demand that we're supposed to be supporting them. And I got up, I walked into our president's office, and I said, we need to have a space for our Latinx students and for our African American students. We need to make sure that we have it for other areas too, but I want to start with those two, and these are the two spaces that I want to make sure that we leave alone so that we can do this work. And she looked right at me and went, okay, all right. The Together We Rise Center came out of that. The work that we're doing with our Latinx students, our students that are undocumented, the services that we're giving came out of that conversation. We will be opening up as we're hiring our very first tenure track Emoja counselor. That will be our second space that we're opening. We're opening a queer center downstairs come fall. We are making moves together before we are being asked to do this. Same holds true for our Middle Eastern population. They need a place where they belong. So when we're talking about making sure that students belong, making sure that we're getting rid of the equity gap or decreasing the equity gap rather, that has to happen inside of the classroom, but it has to happen outside of the classroom as well. We have to be able to support our students.
The next question is related to technology. Please provide examples of how you have successfully leveraged technology to enhance teaching and learning in a community college setting. How would you ensure that faculty and students have access to the necessary technology tools and resources to support student success?
So the first thing in regards to technology is being aware of what we have and what we don't have. It's been interesting. There's a lot of times where we're requesting technology and we might have it, but we don't realize that we have it. And there's also a lot that's going on right now in regards to our district and our colleges in regards to technology. In Chancellor's Cabinet just a couple of weeks ago, we went over a matrix of all of the different technology needs. It was several pages long, and the numbers were in double digits. When we looked at this, I immediately looked at the individuals that were working on all of these. And my first reaction was, it's a lot of the same people. A lot of the same people are working on the same things. I think that many years ago, I would have said, well, that's too much. They can't do this. We need to pull them out of this one. Instead, my mind went to, how do we make this work? How do we make this work so that I'm supporting and working with and encouraging so that we're able to work on these projects? How do we do that, and what is it that our college needs to be able to do this? So the first one is about acknowledging and understanding what is it that we have going on in regards to technology, being aware of what our priorities are. The next is really listening, having conversations. I use every opportunity that I possibly can, whether I'm sitting in a committee where we're interviewing someone or waiting for the next candidate to come, whether we're sitting waiting for an event to start, to ask how people are. How are you doing? What's going on? What do you need? And I mean it. It's not what do you need and then me going, oh, that's great. Thanks for that. What do you need and then can we work on it? I had a conversation with the faculty and I asked that question, how are you doing? What's going on? Is there anything that you need? How's everything going? And they brought up something in regards to licensing, in regards to we need access to this. We're not able to serve our students the way that we need to if this licensing goes away. Can you help me with that? I don't even know if they said, can you help me with that? I think it was, I think I can help you with that. Let's have a conversation about that. It's making sure that I'm listening to hear what the needs are. And not just in those one-on-ones. I attend Academic Senate on a regular basis. I get to meet, and so does our President's Cabinet gets to meet with our Senate officers on a monthly basis. When we're meeting, a lot of it is, Jessica, we need your help on this. We need Cabinet's help on this. And they're expecting for me to be able to come back to return to have a conversation. When we looked at technology with Microsoft 365 and we were dealing with licenses, which we needed to do, and payment for licenses, that was incredibly important. When some faculty weren't able to access what they needed technology-wise to serve our students, it was a very quick, Jessica, can you help with this? Can leadership help with this? And then we worked with our partners at the district to be able to say, this is what's happening, this is what the need is, this is what we're hearing, so that we can fix it. For me, the access technology is key for student success, but the listening and the action and the partnership with the district is what makes it happen.
In your preparation for this important leadership role, what do you see as Cuyamaca College's greatest strengths as well as opportunities for growth?
Greatest strength is very easy. It's all of you. It's the individuals that we have here. We have an absolutely amazing community. And you all know that when I say community, I mean all of us. The community is the individuals that work here, the students that go here, which, by the way, I don't know if you know, there is a table full of students in the back. So there are students here right now. Our women's volleyball team is here today. So we have students. Our students, the individuals that work here, and the community that surrounds us. That is by far our greatest asset. Because we can do anything together. I've seen it. We completely went off campus within a week because we did it together. We came back off and on, again and again, because we did it together. We can accomplish anything that comes our way as long as we are doing it together as a community. So we definitely are the greatest asset. There's also a lot of opportunities that are coming up that I know that we're taking advantage of in regards to growing enrollment, in regards to looking at what the needs are for our college, in regards to working together to make sure that we're having robust programs that are successful for our students. But by far, it's the individuals that are here.
Thank you. In your current or prior leadership roles, please describe a situation where you've used data to inform a significant decision. And also, how would you ensure that data-driven decision-making becomes a fundamental practice within our community college?
So data is incredibly important. I look at data on a regular basis, daily, in different areas. One of my favorite things to do, this is going to sound strange, one of my favorite things to do is to match data with our budget. To me, that's exciting. Nikki, I think I got you on that one too. And Bree is probably excited as well. When we can match data with our budget, it's really exciting because what happens is we're being strategic and intentional in regards to how we're spending our money. If you look at any college and you see where they're placing their funds, you will know what's important to the college. I take that as something very serious for me and my role and for all of us as we work together. One of the things that we've been able to do in regards to data here, we have received, and many of you know, there's dollars such as HERF monies that we received from COVID, as well as other one-time funds that we were able to receive as a result of building back enrollment. It's a very large amount of funds that we have been given by the state and that we have been given allocated by the district. It could have been very easy to say, well, let's just spend it where we can spend it. We got to use this money. That's not what we did. we sat down to look at where is it that we need to put these funds in regards to COVID relief for our students. We worked very, very closely. I worked extremely closely with financial aid to say what students need these funds the most first. Who needs these funds? When do they need them? If it's an emergency aid, we need to get moving on a student-friendly emergency aid application where students apply and days later, not weeks later, days later, get those funds. We were in a crisis, but we wanted to spend those monies well. So looking at data, we were able to find what students needed it the most, when did they need it, how often did they need it. So we were able to utilize those funds. I'm very, very, very happy to report we've given millions of dollars away of emergency aid over the past few years. Millions of dollars. And we did it by looking at the data of what our students needed. That was what was important. And the same thing is true in regards to our one-time funds. One time means one time. So you have to be intentional in regards to how you're spending those funds. So as a cabinet, we've been able to look at where is it we need to go? Are we buying more laptops for students for special populations, for categorical areas? Are we buying more Wi-Fi so students that need it? Because we're seeing a lot of students that need it so that they have it. How are we supporting faculty and their efforts with these funds? How are we getting the community engaged and the community involved? That was all through looking at data and tying it to our budget so that we were accountable. So data is something that I use every single day, but that specifically, when we're able to tie it to budget, to me is extremely exciting.
Please describe your experience working with different groups, including faculty, staff, community partners, and participatory governance groups, to identify and eliminate barriers that impede student success, particularly among underserved populations.
So one of the joys is that I get to work with all groups, every single group. Classified professionals, by the way, it is Classified Professionals Week. I hope many of you got your ice cream. Tomorrow is cookies. But Classified Professionals Week, that is this week. I get to work with administrators, and I get to work with faculty. And it's a joy to me to be able to work with all of the different groups. But all of these different groups have different needs. So one of the first things that I'm able, and I always do, is listen. Talk and listen. I talk a lot. You're laughing because you know that it's true. But I listen a lot, too. I listen a lot. I listen to what's being said, and I listen to what's not being said. A lot of the conversations that I have, I love to have in person. So I'm able to see what your face looks like when we're having the conversations. You might be saying, yes, you're all in, but if your body is saying otherwise, I want to dig a little bit deeper. And that happens sometimes. One of the biggest areas that I go back to in regards to working with different groups, all who have very different ideas of what we should be doing to help our students, was the return to campus. When we returned to campus, after we knew that we could and it was safe to return, there was a lot of listening that had to occur. And I was one of the leaders. I was partnering with our sister college, Grossman. I was the leader for the student services return. And our president asked me to also work with the instructional, which was wonderful to do and a great learning experience. And what we were able to do was I was able to hear what is it that everyone needed, what is it that everyone wanted, and it varied. But what we all knew, all of us knew, was how do we get this right for our students? That was the lens and that was the path that we had to follow. The work that we had to do in regards to our return to campus, what were the services that we were giving to our students so that our team and the individuals that we work with felt safe, felt encouraged, felt supported, felt as though they had the tools that they need, but also that we were able to provide support for our students. And that varied. It varied depending on the different group that we were in. And to me, it was all about listening, really, really intently listening and advocating.
So prior to the last question, we have several blue cards. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
All right. What experience do you have and what are your thoughts on the importance of a successful athletics program to a community college?
Well, I already gave a shout out to our women's volleyball. Athletics is extremely important to a college, extremely important. I've raised two scholastic athletes, I'm happy to say, and it's been a joy watching them, and it's been hard watching them balance in their sport as well as school. And that has been difficult. But our athletics programs, number one, they bring a lot of pride to the campus. And that's one of the things that I've really been trying to do in my time here is to work with athletics as much as I can, to be able to increase that pride and increase all of us going and attending events. As the Vice President of Student Services, one of the things that I did very early on is I would send out emails a couple times a semester. I would say, I got the pom-poms. You bring your voice. Join me for this athletic event. We're going to go together and we're going to cheer on our students. And that was really fun because we got to meet students and we got to see them in action. Athletics plays another very, very important role in regards to our campus community. And that is that if you are looking to see a student that is successful, look no further than athletics. Athletics and categorical. Those are the two fine examples of support that is given to students, and for athletics, it's our full-time students that are here, that are giving their all, they're showing their pride, they're here, but they're also scholars. They're receiving support to succeed. To me, athletics is the lifeline and one of the largest things that we need to make sure that we're promoting, and it's another way to attract students to come here. During the open house, for those of you that came, and I think almost the entire campus came, we had a lot of activities in our gym. Volleyball, basketball. I know some of you shot hoops, scored a hole in, I almost said a hole in one, scored, we have golf too, scored a free throw. And what happened there is I heard from a lot of students and a lot of parents that came afterwards, because I gave my phone number out to a lot of people. I do that a lot. And I had a lot of parents that text me and they said, we just got an offer to play at your college. And I thought, that is brilliant. That is the coolest. That is really cool. My daughter just got an offer to play at your college. And I was like, that's right. That's what we do here. And that was exciting. Every morning on my drive in, I get here, between 7:30, something like that. I know that our cross country and our track team run at that time. They've invited me to run a few times. One day I'm going to have to do it. I would be so sad, but I'm going to do it. And I see them as I'm driving in running. And a couple times I've honked and then I've scared them and I need to stop doing that. But I've seen them a couple times as they're running in. And the excitement that I have, they have their Coyote shirts on. They're ready to go. Those are our students. So to me, athletics plays a very, very important role in the work that we're doing here.
What are the changes coming down the pike that will impact community colleges and how they serve students?
There's a lot of changes that are coming down, a lot of changes, changes that we really need to pay attention to so that we're at the forefront. And the good news is that we are paying attention to them, but there is quite a few. Right away, the first thing I'm thinking of is the new, Cal Getzy and Area E in regards to our CSUs. This is a big one. This is a really, really big one because what's going to happen is our lifelong learning, our courses that we have for lifelong learning, many of them are going to go away. They're going to be eliminated. So we have to be able to respond. And first, we need to make sure that we're doing this here before someone else jumps in and does that for us. And we know that we do not have other people work on our curriculum but us, right? So we have to make sure that we're ahead of the game in regards to that, and we're already working on that. But additionally, what is it that our community needs and our community wants from us? So if we're taking away some of that lifelong learning, what are the other options that we can do? Is it in the form of credit-bearing classes? Is it in the form of non-credit classes? Are we taking our amazing, absolutely amazing gym and our facility that is right next door with all of our equipment, and are we transforming that into a space for our community? I say yes. I say yes. How are we listening to the community to be able to offer the other classes that they need? So that's one of them. Also, dual admission. So we're talking about students that are being accepted at CSUs and UCs. Wonderful, terrific. They've been accepted, but they are first supposed to go to a community college. Well, that's a big deal because we're the ones that are going to have to keep track of them. We're the ones that are going to have to support them. We're the ones, as we will for all of our students. But there's very little that's coming in regards to support from our partner on this one. So we have to make sure that we're aware of that. We have to make sure that we're keenly aware. That's a really, really big deal. So there's a lot of different things that we're talking about in regards to, in addition to our work, even our work with our remedial classes. We've done an amazing job. We've done a great job We often call it AB 705, AB 1705, right? Getting rid of the remedial education classes. I'm all for it. I took 2 remedial math and 2 remedial English classes here. When I came back here and I heard that we were working on that, I cannot begin to tell you how excited I was. That was a big deal. That was a huge deal that we were able to do that for students. But our work isn't done. Course numbering, sequencing of courses, making sure that we're on top of that. There's a lot that's coming down that we have to make sure that we're paying attention to and we're planning for, and we are. And we are.
Thank you. What is your definition of a people-first culture, and how do you plan to build such a culture and environment at Cuyamaca College?
Well, I feel like I am. I feel like I have been. I feel like I am now. I think that one of the things that I'm very much a servant leader. I think of myself as a servant leader. I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve the community. I'm here to serve the students. I'm here to serve the individuals that work here. And so for me, when we're talking about people first, it's taking the time. I say this a lot, of leading with compassion. Many of you may have heard this. If you haven't heard it, I say it often. Leading with compassion. Taking the time to meet everyone where they are as they arrive. So when I'm having conversations with people, I'm not walking into it thinking, well, they're telling me this, but this is really what they're thinking. No, they're telling me what they're thinking. So I'm going to take people as they arrive. I'm going to take people and accept them as they arrive. And I'm going to lead with compassion. And I'm going to do a lot of listening. I'm also not going to be afraid to act. This position requires a lot of decision making. It requires a lot of partnerships. Partnerships here at our college, and partnerships with the district, and partnerships with our sister college, Grossmont. That is very important to me because I want to make sure that I'm working with all of us to be able to listen and relay what does it mean to put people first, and relay that messaging and have those conversations when I'm with Chancellor's Cabinet, when I'm having the conversations with my colleagues at the district. How can we get this right? How can we work on things so that people feel as though they're being listened to? So to me, it very much is listening, supporting, following up, celebrating, taking part in activities that we have here at our campus. To me, convocation is a time of celebration. Commencement is the same thing. We also have Thrive, which is an amazing, amazing program that we have that allows individuals to be here and celebrate what it is that we're doing here on this campus, the togetherness and the community that we have, and having activities both on and off campus. So it's really those moments to be able to celebrate and support each other. To me, that's what people first means.
Okay, so beautiful campus. You have a food truck, lots of great things. What plans and what can you tell us about bringing students back? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so it is an absolutely beautiful campus, and that's part of it. I think people want to be here because it's a beautiful campus, and that's great. But we really, it's not just about the beautiful campus. It's about having an environment where all of us are all in regards to building back enrollment, building back the community that we have. It may not look exactly the same, and it's very likely not going to look exactly the same as it did before the pandemic. But it needs to look like a supportive environment where we care about our students and we care about the individuals that work here. So that means that all of us, each of us, are doing our part in order to respond to what is happening when our students come here. If our students have needs, that we're able to respond to those. We do that often with our basic rights, with Cuyamaca Cares, in regards to responding to whether they have a food or housing insecurity. Those are incredibly important. But we have to make sure that we're meeting students where they are. We have to make sure that in building back enrollment, we are looking at how are we providing food for our students? Are we providing it late at night? Are we providing it in the day? And is it food that they would like to eat? Is it food that is affordable? I think the food trucks are awesome. I think they're great. I think it's a wonderful addition, but they can be very expensive. So if we have students that are here, are they able to have access to food? Are they able to have access to food that's affordable? Are they able to have access to the classes that they need at the time that they need and the modality that they need? These are all the things that we have to make sure that we're thinking about in regards to building that campus. In addition to that, there's a very, very large piece in regards to community. One of the things that I've loved to do over these past almost 11 months is to be able to work with our district that's working with both of us, community organizer Camille. and be able to look at ways that we can include and engage the campus. One of the first things that we did, and this was last semester, was have a phone banking campaign. We kept hearing that students were not responding that stopped out. We would email them, but surprise, surprise, they wouldn't email us back. After a couple of times of doing that, we said, no, we need to make sure that we're contacting them. And so that's what we did. We set up a time and days for us to be able to connect with students. And what we heard from students was they wanted us to be there when they needed us. When they needed us, we were there, no matter what it was, that we would respond to their needs. And that is exactly what we've been doing. It's what we're working for. It's what we've been talking about again and again and again across campus in order to build back enrollment and in order to build back the support that we need from our students. And also look at, it's not the typical student that we've always had. Our student is changing. Our student demographic is changing. So being able to respond to that is incredibly important.
What are your plans to continue to integrate our unique Kumeyaay program into the community?
Well, I fully support our Kumeyaay program. It's absolutely amazing. Actually, Stan Rodriguez was on the cover of the Union Tribune yesterday. I don't know how many of you saw that. It was a really good article about the border. Dr. Stan Rodriguez is our Kumeyaay chair, and I support him fully. It's been amazing to watch what he has done, but he needs more support. He needs to be able to have the ability to work with others, bring on others to be able to teach the classes that are already going on, but additional classes that we want to bring on. We also want to, my goal is to support the work in our campuses, to support that we're doing in regards to our Kumeyaay Village, which is next to the A. We're going to have a cultural burn. You'll get an email about that because we're going to have a cultural burn this Friday. We actually have an event where we're going out there again. I hope all of you can come to be able to continue the work that we're doing with the Kumeyaay Village. But I also want to connect more with Kumeyaay Community College. That's important, as well as connect more and solidify and increase and deepen our partnership with Sequan. When I first got here, there was a lot of connections that we had with Sequan in regards to supporting our Kumeyaay students. I want to continue that. I want to grow that. There's also an assembly bill. I know we talk in acronyms a lot. There's Assembly Bill 91. And that assembly bill, which our region, our chancellor, all of our chancellors, it's been amazing, have supported outright, is an assembly bill that will allow students that are in Mexico to be able to come to school here and pay our tuition, resident tuition. That's a really big deal because what that's going to do is it's going to allow our Kumeyaay students that are living in Mexico to be able to come here and take classes here at an affordable rate. And remember earlier when I told you about how we had community liaisons that were working with our Kumeyaay students? They would be able to work with them. They would be able to enhance their experience here. So to me, the sky is the limit. This is the only program in the nation. And we have to protect it, we have to nurture it, and we have to grow it.
Well, you're in luck. I have no more blue cards. All right. So the last question of the day is, this is your opportunity to make some closing remarks and share any additional information that you would like to with us.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much. I'd like to close just by, again, ending with gratitude to thank all of you for your time, for so many of you showing up. I get energized and I'm fueled by seeing individuals on campus. It's one of my favorite things to be able to walk through campus and see individuals, to talk to you, to bond with you, to talk about what's going on in our day. So this is, to me, is absolutely beautiful. So thank you for that. What I want to leave you with is, I spoke about walking up the stairs as a 17-year-old and being scared. Literally, knees shaking, knocking together, thinking, I really, really hope this works. Because of my time here at Cuyamaca and because of the work that we've done, I am not that scared young lady anymore. I am a strong and courageous, unapologetically student-centered, diversity, social justice-minded warrior. I am a woman who stands before you as a product of this institution, a very proud community member, and someone who is willing every day of the week to work towards what it is that we are working on now, to build our enrollment, to celebrate what we are doing here, not just for our students, but for and with each other, to have a strong and sound fiscal budget that is transparent and is accountable to our community and to our taxpayers, to grow and support the work that we are doing here today. And I stand before you as someone, and this is going to sound strange, but is not at all interested, not at all, in becoming a community college president. I am only interested in becoming the next president of Cuyamaca College and the very first president alumna. So I thank you so much for your time and for your interest, for your support, and for everything that you do every single day for each other and for our students and for our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for coming today. As you know, this is our last forum, so please feel free to fill out the white cards, and you have until noon tomorrow in F100 to fill them out there if you'd like to. Thank you again.